Society decides in the UK and Canada, many other places, but in the UK and Canada, it's the law of the land to get to net zero by 2050.
Well, there you have it, folks. Straight from the horse's mouth. It's the law of the land in Canada and the UK to get to net zero by 2050. Those are the two countries that the great, air quotes, the great Mark Carney has been central banker for. And he is dedicated, as I've said before, and many others have said, including the former Prime Minister of the UK, Liz Truss. Carney is dedicated to this net zero insanity. Now he's talking about net zero in Canada, a country that's probably ranks among one of the cleanest countries in the world. We have the largest boreal forest in the world. We have millions of acres of clean water in forms of lakes and rivers. I mean, I think we're behind, a handful of Scandinavian countries in terms of, the rank where we are on levels of pollution. Meaning, there's like maybe Denmark, Sweden, Norway. They're ahead of us in terms of being the least polluted countries in the world. But Carney wants us to take economy, jobs destroying, net zero approach in a country that has no need for any of it.
In a climate crisis, just like a financial crisis, where action needs to be taken. Now, this is a slow burn crisis.
A slow burn crisis that is going to destroy the economy much sooner before we notice any changes in the weather, if any. These net zero policies are going to turn Canada into a hellhole, into a complete economic meltdown. It is coupled with the so-called, not the so-called, with the mass migration, the so-called net climate refugees, which is another reason that'll be the next reason why they'll say they can't stop this mass migration because we're Canada, we have to let in all the climate refugees because they do want to keep the Great Replacement going. But Canada's future, if we keep going in the direction we are going, is a bleak one indeed. They're talking about something even worse than the Great Depression. That's what we're talking about. And Carney has even admitted that net zero, his whole net zero plan, is mainly about making money for his cronies, for the globalist bankers and billionaire pals. They accuse Trump of doing that because they always accuse your opponent of doing what you're doing. And as much as I don't trust Poilievre, at least he's talking about it. At least he's not going down that road of insanity and saying, hello, folks, this is what we're looking at under a Liberal government.
You mentioned about this report out of the Privy Council.
Yeah.
Now, as a crime reporter, if you will, when I hear something like that, I cannot believe what I've heard. And it's such a stark contrast to what you talked about in your platform. But I do want to go back, if you can address that, how that's going to help fix it. But that is the most negative thing in my 40 years in journalism that I've ever heard about Canada. I don't see it too many places in the media, and I think it can't be glossed over. So I'd like to talk about that and how you're going to fix that if you win on next week.
I think you're absolutely right. I am shocked that, this is not an interest group or an opinion columnist or even a think tank that has put out this report. It is not even just a government department. It is the Prime Minister's personal department. I think somebody has to ask Mark Carney, has he seen this report? His department wrote it. And what they are anticipating on the current trajectory is a total meltdown, a societal breakdown in Canada if we stay on the current track. Why this isn't blazing the front pages of every news outlet in the country right now is beyond me. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It blows my mind. What they're actually saying is that, I'm just going to read some of these. More people, this is for the future. It's not enough for Mr. Carney to say, oh, well, the last 10 years is in the past, forget about it. Stop bothering me about the past, he will say. This is the predicted future his department foresees for Canada. More people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand on social services. In 2040, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes that they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. Many worry about sliding down the social order. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. In 2040, pursuing a post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Fewer young people choose post-secondary education, and those who do see it less as a path to a successful career than a way to reinforce their membership in the, quote, elite. That's not my words. That's the government's words. The report paints a terrifying picture of a spiral of economic depression and cost inflation. People may lose faith in the Canadian project, it says. It forecasts that this may trigger people to, quote, emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility or other higher standards of living are easier to obtain. If young workers leave, it may become harder to pay for our social programs for the older people in the country. This last line, it staggers me. That because groceries are expected to become so expensive, according to Mr. Carney's top government department, people may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways. Like this is, it is just hard to believe when you read these words that this is about Canada. This is exactly why I'm in politics, to reverse this, to give people back the promise of this country. And we know what to do. We know how to get there. We have to unleash a plan for change, a plan that will cut people's taxes so their hard work pays off, that will remove bureaucracy so we can build over 2 million homes, that will lock up the violent criminals, that will unleash our resources to generate a $500 billion of extra economic growth, that will fund schools and hospitals and opportunity for our people.
So yeah, yes, Poilievre's on the election trail. He's campaigning, but I mean, he has the economic history on his side. If you get rid of massive red tape, regulation, excessive taxes, then you will see better economic performance. That has been proven everywhere that it's been tried. And on top of that, we are hamstringing our biggest industry, oil and gas. We've chased out over $200 billion in capital investment under the Trudeau government. So what's Mark Carney's response to economic reality? Well, have a listen.
With CBC, I'd like to follow up on that. Just if you've got an economist like Trevor Toombs saying that your plan is unsustainable, is just that. Is there an argument that if Pierre Poilievre is trying to bring down spending, bring down the deficit, that his plan is more fiscally responsible than yours?
Okay. There's one thing that you can write on a paper. There's another thing that will happen in the economy. Okay. So, our plan, to be clear, is focused on investment and growing this economy. All of the spending, all of the investment in years 3 and 4 are for growing the economy.
Yeah, that's the plan of all socialist, centrally planned economies everywhere. We're going to invest in the economy. Governments can't invest in anything. All they can do is lower regulation, lower taxes, and get out of the way of the free market. But that's not Carney's strategy. Carney's strategy is very much to, a top-down approach where government chooses winners and losers. And 9 times out of 10, or probably 10 times out of 10, when a government tries to pick a winner, they end up picking a loser. I mean, we only have to look at Trudeau's EV plant investment and all these various battery plants that they were going to build in southern Ontario for the coming EV revolution, which is not materializing because people are not buying EVs. They don't like them. Anyways, with a few days left to go in the election, the CBC, of course, they're going to bring out the full propaganda and tell us why Poilievre's and the Conservatives panel is dangerous and why we should vote for Mark Carney's net zero insanity.
also planning cuts to be able to afford his plan. First, he intends to defund the CBC, something he has long promised. He's also promised increasing cuts to government consultants, saving up to $10 billion. And he would end what he calls foreign aid to, quote, dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy by up to $3 billion. It's not clear who exactly that would affect.
Well, I can tell exactly who that would affect. It's all the insanity that was uncovered by Doge in the U.S. at USAID, the sex changes in Peru, and I don't know, Buddhist studies in Cameroon or something. I mean, just the insane amount of endless, useless programs, useless polls that no one even looked at that cost $1 billion. Okay, so now let's listen to what the other opposition parties and the ruling Liberals have to say about the idea of cutting taxes and lessening spending to stimulate the economy.
The conservative math is not mathing. No, if you look at what they're proposing, the numbers are not based in any reality.
These numbers are a joke. We aren't in a joke. We are in the worst crisis of our lives.
I believe that they want to cut so much that I thought at first is, Elon Musk, please get away.
And yeah, there you have it, right on cue. Let's go to the anti-Trump. That is the platform of not just the Liberals, but also the NDP and the Bloc. It's Orange Man bad. Let's not be like them. Let's not have a prosperous society. In the face of a report by the current government telling us that we're headed for a dystopia, worse than the Great Depression, and your answer is, no, let's keep doing what we're doing. Carney says we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis of your own creation, of the creation of the party that you are now leading, where you've inflated the money supply, you've raised taxes, you've chased away capital investment, and that's where we're at. And you want to keep going down the same path. You've released your economic platform, and it's an exact copy of Trudeau's back in 2015. It's the same thing. What's really scary is that people are actually going to vote for this. Okay, so it's getting down to the wire. Yes, the polls are tightening. Some people are even saying, some polls are even saying that Poilievre is now in the lead. Some say 3 or 4 points. Some say as much as 9. So the average is, I don't know, 6 or 7. It's still too close for comfort. Okay. There is the argument among people here in the West who say, let's just let the East vote for Carney and let the country go to hell, because then that's going to provoke Western separation. Look, I'd like to have Western separation, but I don't want it at the expense of having to have the country go to hell in the first place. Yeah, some people say, well, Easterners, they overwhelmingly vote for the Liberals, so they deserve what they get. No, I don't want that for my fellow Canadians. It drives me crazy that these boomers out in Ontario and other places like that they voted for 10 years of Trudeau, and they want to vote probably for another 10 years of Carney, although we won't have a country in 10 years if Carney gets into power. I hate it, but still, they know not what they do. I want them to be saved from their own mistakes. But boy, I tell you, it is probably the most significant election in Canada's history. Certainly since, without a doubt, since the Second World War, and perhaps even longer. But all right. So that's going to do it for today. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. If you want to leave $1 or $2 in the tip jar and go to my Patreon account, very much appreciated. Helps keep the channel going. And until next time, this has been Bourbon and Bullets.